Singapore has a problem. We are racist. We are very fucking racist. And it all seems to come back to this one word. Woke. So before we answer the question of today's video, I would like to take my country's current situation of trying to set fire to itself and explain why is woke an insult. The thing is, it sometimes feels like the other side, whatever side it may be, do not understand what we're actually talking about. And that's because they don't. They literally don't. Not because of a lack of intellect, but because when you are in divided camps, you create isolated definitions for the world. Words are fake. We made them up and gave them meaning. Bins and cans, deities and gods. They are basically different words with the same meaning, depending on where you are in the world. But on the flip side, there's a bow and a bow and a bow and a bow and a bow. Words with the same structure but different meaning. Homonyms. In his video reflection on why he stopped being anti-woke, Dark Matter 2525 said,
Years ago, people would have described me as anti-woke because I openly expressed dislike of what some people would associate with wokeness today. But my dislike was rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding. It took me too long to realize this, but my dislike was not for a specific group of people, which is the same mistake that right-leaning people are making now. My dislike was for a specific set of traits that anybody of any group could possess.
This is the crux of it. Whichever group defines a word hooks you in with the superficial agreement on a terminology before the entirety of your logic and understanding can catch up. And once you are ingrained in that community, you defend that position you might otherwise have not, so that you might keep that position in that community. The purpose of language is to communicate, and you communicate mostly with whatever group you are with. Let's take, for example, the definition of a safe space. For people like me, it is a clinical definition of it, used by psychologists and therapists everywhere. It's a place where you are not judged, can be comfortable, and feel safe. Feel free to have a pillow or play whale songs if that helps. It's a place for you to lower your guard and not be tense. If you're neurodivergent like myself, these places are lifesavers. The room you sleep in, quiet time on the toilet, all these are safe spaces. But for people like Peter Boghossian, for example, it's a place to escape, to not be challenged, to run away from reality and not face hardship. And if you're in somewhere like academia or someone trying to deconvert an extremist, this space can seem like a fortress against debate. There's a clash of definition here. For me, it's a place to rest. For them, it's a place to escape. For me, a safe space is a place to gather my thoughts. For them, it's a place to not engage with the thinking of others. But when you manage to cut through the shouting and actually explain what a safe space is, the clinical definition, it's actually very agreeable because there's no real contradiction with the wants of both sides. The fight is not between yes safe space or no safe space. It's how big the space should be. I prefer them to be bigger so that more people have access to rest when needed, since we do not know how much stamina different people have. Someone else might argue, logically, that they need to be smaller so that there is more room for ideas to intermingle. Understandable argument. But the thing about spaces is that there's a lot of it. I'm ready to engage. I want time off. Let's boogie. No dickie. We can have both. And once you understand the good faith definitions, you can start to realize all your mistakes. Like how safe spaces works differently for different people. Almost like people are individuals or something and have different personalities. Wow. For me to do this engaging of ideas here on camera that people like Peter Boghossian wanted, I need my safe space to craft this script. And Peter, during his tenure as a professor, had a tendency to bring in controversial guests in order to listen, exchange, and challenge their ideas. And when protests arose against some of those guests, he asked his university to be more tolerant so that guests with opposing views can be allowed to air them on an academic platform, to be put through the rigors of academia, where they can, for a brief period of time, put their views out to the world without fear of being judged, while feeling safe and comfortable, so that the full idea can be extracted, understood, then challenged. He's asking for a safe space. He just doesn't know it as that definition. And before he could learn it as that, before people could properly define it, the skewed bad faith definition got injected into his vocabulary. He got inducted into the crowd that uses the bad faith definition. That crowd became his in-group, and he uses that definition exclusively to communicate with that community that is now his own. He got radicalized. And like what we covered in Why We Lie, what happens is that for most part of life, we then conform. We go with the story of whatever group we are closest to, and we then believe that fervently. Because not believing can get you ostracized from that group. See, religion and all. Right or wrong at this point doesn't really matter. Facts or logic doesn't really matter. Truth is whatever the group believes. That false story becomes the new truth, and because of that, he found a community amongst those who uses the phrase that way, and now he defends it vehemently. And like the renaming of the ACA to Obamacare, this creation of cultural differences was likely on purpose. The earliest use of safe space in its good faith definition was in the 1960s. It was places where the LGBTQ community could gather, share their ideas, reinforce their knowledge before going on to face the world, to challenge it, recharge. But the bad faith definition of safe space, they were first used in 2015. It came later. Checking the chronology of the word is a good way to understand the true meaning of it. When in history was it created? And when was it co-opted? When was its meaning changed? And what was the reason why? So let's get back to the word woke. In Singapore, that word has found its way into our weird online spaces with the same usage as how the extremists and racists in the West use them. It's an insult. But if you're someone like me, it's a really weird insult. I wear being woke as a badge of honor, and it starts making sense when you actually look at how they define the word. For me, I use the word woke in its historical context. It has history of over 100 years, all the way back to the abolition of slavery in the US. It simply means to be consciously aware of systemic injustice and being active in stopping it. Do you think slavery is bad? Congratulations, you're woke. Do you think child exploitation is bad? Congratulations, you're woke. Do you want to stop war profiteering? Congratulations, you're woke. Do you want to stop corruption in politics? Congratulations, you're woke. But like bow and bow and bow and bow and bow, people who use woke as an insult have a very different definition of the word. To me, it's an action, something to do. To them, it's a list. It's DEI, it's PC, it's socialism, it's raising taxes, whatever they want it to be. It's an arbitrary list of things they disagree with.
These are the traits: obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacking self-awareness. Now, at first, I was making the exact same mistake of attributing those characteristics to a specific group of people. What taught me the lesson was the reaction to them. During the years around 2014, we had a term for those people, which we called SJW, which stood for Social Justice Warrior. People don't usually use that term anymore because it has been fundamentally subsumed by the term woke. They're essentially synonymous now, though their etymology is a bit different.
The idea can change from place to place. It has to change from place to place. Because, for example, healthcare is not a woke idea in Singapore, but it is woke in the United States. This list must be malleable to fit whatever radicalization pipeline is happening in a place, to define whatever systemic injustice they want to stamp down. Which is why it's impossible to debate someone using the word woke as an insult, because you're not even arguing about the same thing. And the further problem with this listification is that you can have further homonyms in the list. DEI, socialism, fear-mongering. If you just read them summary on their Wikipedia pages, you'll realize they have the exact same issue. Fear-mongering means to use lies to cause fear. But to the other side, it's anything that causes fear. You make them scared, it's fear-mongering. DEI means having a working population reflect the actual percentage of the population. But to the other side, it's hiring based on race instead of quality. It's racist. And let's not just bully the alt-right. Things like cultural appropriation and capitalism are often misunderstood by the left as well. They might not mean what you think they mean. Maybe double check on that. Maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. Like and subscribe. Always good to be extra sure anyway. Your definition might not even be any of my examples. And hey, maybe read up on them too. Maybe you'll find what you believe in is not how it's defined. Languages are meant to connect people, and if you feel like you're not connecting, the language has failed. And now that we've deconstructed all the buzzwords, we can finally understand that in this context and argument, they are meaningless. The language doesn't work anymore, so the language has to be taken out of the equation. When two sides cannot agree on the definition of a word or phrase, linguistically, those words become useless, which means we can finally answer, why are we racist? Which is a lie of a question, a good hook of a story. Racist in this context could just be about the generalization of evil. So the true question for this video should really be, who becomes evil? There are two underlying types of personalities that we can draw from that question. The first and obvious one are the ones that want to be. These are the racist, the fascist. They are the ones selling the new definition of words. They know what the original means. They don't care. The term Obamacare was invented to create an evil definition in the eyes of Republicans of the ACA, and it replaced the definition of the ACA. It turned the definition into a list. ACA isn't healthcare anymore. It's Obamacare now. It's black, it's woke, it's socialism. All these evil things, which means evil by these evil people. They use the homonyms that we've talked about as a weapon, as propaganda. These people are fascists. They are authoritarians. They are liars. They want power, be it as money or control, and they will say and do anything to keep that power. The second type of people are sadly the ignorant. These are the ones who are being sold the lie. And one might assume with some level of argument that even just buying the lie makes them evil at heart. There is a probability of the banality of evil, of being an Eichmann in Jerusalem. And while that might be true in some cases, there is another possibility. And that is, like the definition of woke and DEI and socialism, they don't know what it means. They don't know what things like racism means. They don't think blackface is racist because they don't know that blackface is racist. And they don't want to find out because not knowing makes them ignorant, which is better than finding out, making them willful. It's more comfortable to not face the truth and say, I didn't know, than it is to say, I messed up.
I made a cartoon that was doing great numbers and going viral. It was called If God Became an SJW. Now, when I realized the truth of what was really going on, I put that video on private so that it would not be seen anymore. I made a mistake by making that cartoon, and correcting that mistake was not pain-free, as that video was pretty lucrative. But I can't stand by something that I don't believe in just for the money. As a lot of you who are familiar with my work know, I no longer make videos like that, and I have not done it for a long time now. I've even been accused of being woke now, which is very funny to me.
This video gets big enough, you can read in the comments of these same people saying I'm overreacting. Look for the contradiction of the same type of people chastising others for not providing them a space to share their horrible worldviews, while complaining that safe spaces are bad. Look for the same people that says I'm being too woke in the same listification of the word. I'm woke to them, not because I'm making sense, but because what I'm talking about is on their list. And this contradiction is done because the other option is to read and research the actual history, definitions, and the system of inequality we live in. Because the other option means to learn about the history of blackface and learn what it means to wear it. In the same way that wearing an SS uniform isn't cosplay, but fascism. Because the other option is to find out that their ignorance have made them wrong for a moment in time. Wearing other races as costumes was always racist. It's just that we understand it now. We got better. And no, creativity and free speech won't die if we silence these terrible topics. If you need to say racist things to be creative, you're not being creative. You're just an asshole. And new things will keep being added to this list to keep up with these arguments. The great replacement, cancel culture. They will keep adding these things to their list. Because if these people stop making up these new definitions, if they stop adding things to this list, they have to come to terms that they either have to go through the uncomfortable process of change or accept they were the bad guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to my patrons and a shout out to my VIP patron Oriole. Should I make a special name for like the VIP patrons? The handsome, beautiful, and smart club. I highly recommend Dark Matter 2525's video Why I Stopped Being Anti-Woke. It's a very great reflection of today's topic. It's a little bit longer than my videos, but just throw it on as a background podcast. It's pretty good. My next video won't be in the Why Are People Evil series. I need to, shuffle a couple of normal stuff in just to keep myself sane. Anyway, that's it for today. I guess I will see you next time. Bye! Is it over? Can I stop dabbing now?